Good evening. Here we are on a Friday, and sports are officially back in session. I know I only cover the NFL, but the MLB started their season last night, and boy, did they hit it out of the ballpark. I mean, they had a powerful message before the anthem and had players kneel holding a black ribbon in their hands. I felt like they did a phenomenal job bringing the Black Lives Matter movement into play and keeping it a topic of discussion. Anyways, enough on that. Let's get to the NFL. Today, I want to talk about the preseason, a proposed 12-game regular season, and lastly, Washington finally changing their name. So, are you ready to get your fix? So, let's start with the preseason. Now, it's kind of a little update on the NFL preseason, which was shortened from 4 games to 2 games, like I noted a couple weeks ago. And however, on Tuesday, the NFL Players Association told teams and their players that instead of 2 games, there's going to be no preseason games this upcoming season. Now, one good thing that comes out of this is that the teams will be able to have 80 players on their roster, but it has not been signed off yet. Actually, it was today. Instead of 90 players coming to training camp, it's only going to be 80, so there's a little decrease of players coming to training camp, which is okay, but not okay for rookies and undrafted free agents. So this is going to give rookies a chance to make that lineup and be able to showcase their skills. In previous seasons, teams could have 90 players, like I said, going into the preseason, but they had to dial it down to 56 before the season started. This might end up looking a little different, like I just said. It's going to be a little different with 80 players. They're going to have to shorten it down to 56, obviously before the regular season. So if you remember, I wasn't too excited about only having 2 preseason games, but now it's going to be 0, and that means rookies and undrafted free agents will now have a much harder time making those teams. I mean, these guys need a chance, and games is the best chance to see if they actually have what it takes. I believe that since there will be no preseason game, that team should be able to have at least 2 full pad scrimmages or something with no fans, so that teams can evaluate the players that are on their roster and those rookies and those undrafted free agents. I mean, it's 2020, okay? So nothing is normal at the moment. So like the players, we will all have to just embrace this change and see if it actually makes a difference. One thing that could come out of this is teams could start the regular season a little sluggish, okay, and could take 2 to 3 games before we start seeing guys make big steps forward, okay, and less penalties and all that stuff that goes into playing the game of football. So, no preseason games this season. In the regular season remains in question. So that's going to lead me to my next topic of discussion, which is the exploration of a 12-game regular season. Now, I'm not 100% sure if this is accurate or not, but I saw it scrolling through social media, and it kind of shocked me. I kind of went on Google and all that and tried to search for it, see if it was actually real. I wasn't seeing too much. It was maybe a thought at one point, but I don't think it is. But I want to discuss it a little bit. So I think it's just absolutely ridiculous. And I want 16 games, okay? 4 games is a big difference, as those 4 games could be the difference of winning your division or the conference. This is crucial for teams that are tied and need a 2 to 3 wins to solidify their place atop the division. 12 games, it's too short. It'll literally fly by. I mean, the NFL season at 16 games with 17 weeks, that still flies by. It's literally gone in a blink of an eye. So, like I said, 12 games, it's just too short. And being that I've waited for so long for football to even start, even just sports in general to start, I feel like 12 games isn't enough. I know the MLB, like I talked about earlier, they went from 162 to 60 games. But obviously the coronavirus hit as soon as their season started. So the NFL is looking a little different. It still, I think, is going to end up being that 16-game season. But anyways, how much are players going to get paid, okay, if it's a 12-game season? Do their game checks get bigger to make up for those 4 games that would be canceled? There's just so much that could happen in the regular season, or if the regular season gets cut down. Like I said, though, I'm not 100% sure about this report and if it's accurate, but I felt, like I said, it's something that needed to be addressed. With only 12 games, it also means owners will have less revenue, and I'm sure with this virus already bringing their revenue down, the owners would probably be very opposed to a 12-game season unless they find it to help the revenue a little bit, because they would lose money, okay, in those 4 games where they would, because there's little to no fans would be attending. So, I mean, they'd only be making money from sponsorships and TVs in those 4 games if they played it. So I don't agree with this, but like I said earlier, this is 2020. Okay, nothing's normal. So time will tell how this NFL season actually ends up. So now I want to switch gears, and we're gonna go talk about the Washington, who used to be the Redskins. I'm just gonna put it that way. So yesterday it came out that Washington will have a team name for the time being. Now it could be changed eventually, but what was once the Washington Redskins will now be the Washington Football Team. Wow. I mean, can we just take a moment to soak in that creativity? I mean, so creative. So, think about it. The Minnesota Football Team or the Green Bay Football Team. We get it. Okay, you're a football team. That's what you do. You're in the NFL, National Football League. So, Washington Football Team, are you for real? I mean, really, football team. Okay, that's what you're going to go with this season? All because they want to keep the same colors that they've been using since they entered the league. I believe it was 1932 or something like that. They've been using that maroon or that reddish maroon color with that gold. So I feel like this is the Washington front office saying, well, we have a name we like, but we're not really 100% sure that we want to go with that name. So let's just say, we're a football team until we make a final decision on a name change. Essentially the uniforms, they're going to be the same, but the Washington text, that's going to go right above their number, kind of right here. That is a little different. They decided to make it a little bit more modern, as you will. And one thing that is really different, that's going to stand out a lot, is instead of that Redskin logo on the helmet, which obviously had to be removed because it's the team name, obviously. Instead of that on the helmet, they're going to have the player's number on each side of the helmet in that gold. So it's going to be that maroon helmet with the yellow face mask and the gold or yellowish number up there. So that's going to be kind of interesting to see. I kind of like that concept, but it might be a little older. It's kind of more high schoolish. I think this is very, very lazy work for the Washington front office. And yeah, okay, they probably have other big things on their plate at the moment, but with the sexual harassment scandals going on. But I mean, isn't that why you hired a specific person to handle this name change? You hired a specific guy, said this is your job, figure the name out, and then come to us when you have one picked out. I mean, come on. Okay, this looks like a high school team with no creativity. Washington Football Team. That's what you're going to call yourself. Washington Football Team. I don't know. I mean, there are plenty, and I mean plenty of options to change your team name to, but you choose to go with Football Team. Enough on that. It is what it is, and I mean, I guess, like I said, 2020, nothing's normal. So maybe these uniforms will eventually grow on me, but I mean, that name needs to be changed as soon as possible. It's not good. I don't like it. I think fans should be a little upset about this. I mean, it's childish. They need to figure something out. And being that they hired a specific person to get this job done, and that specific person decided to go with a football team until they figured out a real team name. I mean, I'm pretty sure this is the owner saying, oh, no, we can't change anything. We have to, just the logo. We're going to keep Washington. We're going to keep the colors. You can still be the Washington Red Tails with the same colors. You can still be the Washington Generals with the same color. You can still be all these different names with the same color. Just get it done. And you're not doing it. You're taking too much time. I understand it's only been a couple weeks or a month or two, but come on, man. Washington Football Team. That's going to end the discussion today, okay? As you can see, that one, I'm not too interested in that one, but I needed to tell you guys, like I said, I would inform you once the team name was decided, and was decided. So, today we talked about that preseason, which will be no more, and then we went to the proposed 12-game regular season, which, like I said, I'm not 100% sure it's accurate or real. I just seen it, so I thought, why not talk about it? And lastly, we talked about, like I said, the Washington Football Team. Hurrah! But anyways, that's, like I said, that's going to end our discussion today. So thanks for stopping by. We'll see you Monday, and you just got your fix with the Wicks.